Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. I, 45 male, spent the last 15 years working abroad so I could provide a good life for my wife, Irina, 43 female, and our two daughters, Katie, 18 female, and Sandy, 16 female. Growing up, my relationship with my father was not great. He was the kind of man who sat around the house all day doing nothing. He never had a steady job, never helped out, and never showed much interest in us. My mother, on the other hand, did everything. She worked long hours, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs at once, just to keep food on the table. She paid the bills, cooked, cleaned, and raised me and my siblings on her own. I loved her, but it hurt me to see how tired she always was. She gave everything she had, while my father sat there acting like it was not his problem. Watching that as a kid made me determined to be different. I did not want my future kids to go through what I did, seeing one parent carry all the weight while the other gave up. I started from nothing. I worked any job I could find and saved every cent. I built myself up slowly, step by step. I wanted a life where my kids would not have to worry about money, about food, or about whether the lights would stay on. That is why I took the job abroad. It was hard to be away, but I wanted Katie and Sandy to have the best life possible. I swore I would provide for them and be the kind of father my own never was. I wanted them to see me as someone they could rely on. I never wanted them to feel like I failed them. Early in our marriage, I had a decent local job, but it was not enough to support the kind of life I wanted for my family. When Katie and Sandy were young, I was offered a job abroad with a high salary. The catch was that I would have to spend long stretches of time away, sometimes up to a year, but the payoff was worth it. I could pay for private schools, save for their futures, and buy a nice house. It was a sacrifice, but Irina supported the decision. She agreed it was best for us. It seemed to work at first. I would return home every few months. I could stay for a few months at a stretch, and we would make the most of our time together. But as the years went by, I started to notice a change. The girls grew older and more distant. When I visited, Irina stopped putting in effort. I assumed it was just a phase, teenage kids being teenagers, and Irina feeling overwhelmed managing things alone. I thought this was the price I paid for prioritizing work over being present in person. But it would be worth it when Katie and Sandy got the futures they desired. It turns out I was a fool, a naive, trusting fool. Last year, everything went south. A friend of mine back home reached out saying they had seen something that did not sit right. I brushed it off at first, but then they sent me photos. Irina with another man, Jeffrey, 48 male. Not just casual photos. These were full-blown family moments. Irina and Jeffrey smiling on beach vacations. Jeffrey at amusement parks with my daughters, and Jeffrey sitting at the head of my dining table. I felt sick. These were trips I had paid for with the money I worked for. And there was Jeffrey, a man who has no job and no money, playing house with my family. When I dug deeper, the truth came out. Irina had been in a relationship with Jeffrey for years. He had been around while I was working day and night overseas to give them the life they enjoyed. Katie and Sandy knew about him. Not only did they know, they accepted it. Jeffrey became their fun stepdad while I was away. The trips they took. My daughters were right there enjoying vacations I paid for with Jeffrey while I sat in a tiny apartment across the globe missing birthdays and holidays. It broke me. My entire world shattered. I was not even angry at first, just numb. I kept asking myself how they could do this to me, how Irina could betray me so completely, how Katie and Sandy, my daughters, could treat this man like he was their dad. I had missed out on so much trying to give them everything. And in the end, I was nothing more than a paycheck to them. When I confronted them, their reactions were like daggers to the heart. Katie did not even flinch. She said that I was never there. What did I expect? Sandy was quieter, but she did not defend me either. I was just absent in their eyes, and apparently that justified everything. According to them, I chose work over family, so this was my fault. Irena chimed in to say Jeffrey had been there for them emotionally, and that I needed to accept the reality. The reality is that I spent years breaking my back for a family that replaced me in no time. A family that saw me as nothing more than a bank account. And Jeffrey, the guy they let sit in my chair at my table, has contributed nothing but smiles and empty words. Then came the worst part. When I checked Katie and Sandy's college funds, I realized Irena had been taking money out. At first, I thought there had to be a mistake. I checked again and again, but the numbers were clear. Thousands of dollars were gone. It was not all of the money, but it was enough to make a serious dent. I felt sick. That money was not just cash. It was years of my hard work saved specifically to give my daughters a better future. Then it hit me. The trips, the vacations, the fun outings with Jeffrey. That is where the money went. Irena used the funds I spent years saving to take Jeffrey on vacations, shopping trips, and dinners out. I saw the photos of them smiling on beaches, eating at fancy restaurants, and having a good time while I was across the world working. Those happy family moments they shared were paid for with my money. Jeffrey did not pay for any of it. He could not. The man does not have a stable job or a penny to his name, but he was happy to enjoy the life I worked for. My daughters, Irena and Jeffrey, were out there having fun while I missed birthdays and holidays to give them everything. And instead of saving for Katie and Sandy's futures, Irena spent their college money playing happy family with a man who contributed nothing. It was like a slap in the face after everything I had sacrificed for them. I snapped. I was done with it. I immediately contacted a lawyer and informed Irena that I was filing for divorce. And what about the remaining college funds? I am using every penny to pay the legal fees. I am not going to let Irena and Jeffrey get away with their little affair while I pay the bill. My daughters are furious. Katie especially. She claims I am ruining her life by denying her a chance at college. Sandy said I was being petty and unfair because Jeffrey did not have enough money to help them. But why should I care? They sure did not care when they were laughing on beaches with him. They did not care when I missed Christmas or birthdays because I was working for them. They did not care when Irena took Jeffrey to restaurants with my money. Now all of a sudden they care because their futures are in jeopardy. Now I am the villain. The way I see it, they made their choice. They chose to accept Jeffrey. They chose to lie to me. They chose to take advantage of my sacrifices. And now they are facing the consequences. If they want to be mad, they can be mad at Jeffrey for not being able to provide for them. They can be mad at Irena for stealing from their futures. But me, I am done being the bad guy when I am the only one who ever did the right thing. I know Katie and Sandy are young, and part of me hopes they will see things clearly one day. But right now, I cannot find it in me to feel bad. I worked for that money. It was mine, and they used it to humiliate me. I will not pay for their betrayal. Let Jeffrey step up now. If he is such a great guy, let him figure out how to pay for Katie's dream school. Let Irena and Jeffrey explain to Sandy why there is no money left for her future. I am out. So, am I an a-hole for using my daughter's college funds to divorce their mom after finding out they used my money to play happy family with her affair partner? Honestly, OP is not the a-hole here. OP's wife didn't just cheat. She built a whole alternate life using the money OP was breaking his back to earn. And OP's daughters weren't just innocent bystanders. They were active participants in the fantasy. They smiled in photos, took the vacations, and let another man sit in their father's place at his own table. That's not on OP. That's on the environment their mother created. OP didn't ruin their future. Their mother did. And now let's hear community's opinion. You worked for 15 years to give your family a life you never had. Meanwhile, your wife spent years telling your daughters you didn't care about them, and that Jeffrey, a grown man with no income, was the real emotional support. It's no wonder they sided with her. That's what happens when one parent controls the narrative while the other is thousands of miles away. But the moment they start accusing you of ruining their lives, they need to hear the truth. They need to see the bank statements. They need to understand exactly who emptied the college fund, and it wasn't you. The wildest part of this story is that everyone was happy with the arrangement until the consequences arrived. Your wife and Jeffrey got the vacations. Your daughters got the attention and the lifestyle. And you got to sleep in a tiny apartment on the other side of the world, while everyone pretended you were just a walking ATM. Now that the college money is gone, suddenly you're the villain? No, they live the good life on your sacrifice. It's only fair that they deal with the reality of what their mother did. Jeffrey can step up now, since he was so eager to play daddy for the fun parts. You're not wrong to protect yourself. You're not wrong to stop pouring money into a life where you were disrespected, lied to, and replaced. But I hope you don't give up on your daughters completely. They were manipulated for years by a woman who needed to justify her affair and make you the bad guy. They may have gone along with it, but they were fed a version of you that wasn't real. If they're ever going to see the truth, it won't be through yelling. It'll be through proof and calm explanation. Cut their mother off, cut Jeffrey off, but don't close the door forever on your daughters. Let them come back when they finally understand what really happened. Update 1. So, I recently filed for divorce. It was not an easy decision, but after everything I found out, I had no choice. I have been back in town for 2 weeks now, and I am trying my best to figure out how to work through everything. I have rented a small apartment because I do not want to go back to that house anymore. It has been a lot to take in. Since then, my phone has not stopped buzzing. Katie and Sandy have been flooding me with messages nonstop. It is always the same thing. You're ruining our lives. How could you do this? Or you're being unfair. It is frustrating. Honestly, I have not replied to any of their messages because I do not even know what to say to them right now. I have been trying to process everything that has happened, and I do not think I'm ready to talk to them yet. I love my daughters, and no matter how angry or hurt I am, I still feel bad for them. They are caught in the middle of this mess, and I cannot imagine how confusing this must be for them. But at the same time, I cannot ignore the fact that for years they kept such a huge secret from me. While I was working abroad, they were spending that time with the man my wife had an affair with. And not just spending time with him. They were taking trips with him, going out to eat, and playing happy family. All while I was thousands of miles away, working to make sure they never had to worry about money. And the worst part is when I finally confronted them, they made me feel like the bad guy. They said I was absent, that I was not there for them. And that hurt because I tried my best to be there for them emotionally, even when I was far away. I called them whenever I got the chance to check up on them. I asked and talked about their lives, friends, and problems, anything they wanted to talk about. I made sure to hear them out anytime they were upset or having trouble with something. I tried. I was not perfect, but I made an effort to get along with them, even from a distance. Despite all of that, they still thought Jeffrey was more of a father than I was. A man who had no job, no money, and nothing to offer, who was mooching off of their father. He never even took them out with his own money. A man who has done nothing but take from me and my family. I know my daughters do not owe me anything. I do not expect them to worship me just because I provided for them. But I do feel like they owed me the truth. Instead, they kept me in the dark for years, pretending everything was fine while they lived a lie with their mother and Jeffrey. How do I just forgive that? How do I forget everything I have learned and act like it never happened? I do not think I can. Irena, on the other hand, has been completely shameless through all of this. When I filed for divorce, I thought she might have a moment of guilt or regret, but I was wrong. Her lawyer, who, by the way, is her sister, Erica, 38F, sent me a legal notice outlining Irena's terms for the divorce. I could not believe what I was reading. The terms are ridiculous. It is as if she thinks she can take me for everything I have, as if I owe her something after everything she has done. What makes it even more absurd is that we signed a prenup before we got married. And that prenup is solid. I made sure of it. At the time, I thought I was just being cautious. I did not think I would ever have to use it. But now I'm glad I did. My lawyer looked everything over and assured me I did not have to worry about it. She told me not to say anything to Irina or Erica right now, and just wait. She will handle it. The prenup makes it clear that Irina is not entitled to much of anything, and my lawyer says their legal notice does not hold any weight. Still, it is infuriating. I spent years working to build a life for my family. Our family and Irina spent those same years tearing it all apart behind my back. And Jeffrey, he is just coasting along, living off someone else's hard work, because he has nothing to contribute. I do not know what Irina sees in him, but I guess that does not matter anymore. The worst part of all of this is how it has affected my daughters. I know Katie and Sandy are angry with me, but I do not think they realize what their mother has done. I do not think they understand how deeply they have hurt me by keeping this secret. Maybe they see me as the villain because I was away so much, but I did not want to be away. I was working hard for them. I sacrificed so they could have everything I never had. I feel like everything I did for them was for nothing. The college funds I spent years saving. Irina dipped into them to fund her little vacations with Jeffrey. All the trips, the dinners, and the outings they went on were paid for with my money. Money I had set aside to give my daughters a better future. And now Katie and Sandy do not understand why I will not just fix things for them. They say I am ruining their lives because I have made it clear I am not adding any more to those funds. But how can they expect me to? After everything that has happened, I am not going to keep paying for Irina and Jeffrey's choices. I do not think they realize how much it hurts me to see them taking their mother's side in all of this. I know they are kids and they have been influenced, but it still stings. I love them, but I do not know if I can forgive them just yet. Maybe that makes me a bad father, but I cannot pretend that this did not happen. For now, I am just focusing on getting through the divorce. My lawyer says I do not need to worry about Irina's demands because the prenup will hold up in court. I am trying to trust her and just let the process play out. But it is hard to stay calm when I feel like my entire life has been turned upside down. At the end of the day, I do not know where things go from here. I do not know if Katie and Sandy will ever see my side of things, or if they will keep blaming me for everything. I do not know if I will ever be able to forgive them for keeping this secret for me. And I do not know if I will ever understand how Irina could do this to me after everything we have been through. I am not perfect. I know I was not always there physically, but I did everything I could to provide for my family. I tried my best. Update 2. I recently got some disturbing information from a friend of mine, the same person who first informed me about Irina's affair. He called me to inform me that Jeffrey, the man my wife was cheating on me with, had moved into our house. When I heard this, I could not believe it. The audacity of the two of them was making me laugh. He not only had an affair with my wife, but he is now living in the home I worked so hard to build for my family. Irina, of course, thought she was going to get the house. She was already acting like she owned it. She actually believed that she had a right to stay there. What she did not seem to remember was that when we bought the house, there was an issue that prevented us from transferring it into her name. The house is still under my name, and she had completely forgotten about that. So I decided to call her and let her know that she needed to move out of the house by the end of the week. I told her that if the kids wanted to stay, they could, but she had to leave. When I told Irina this, she laughed at me. She told me the house was under her name and that I could not ask her to leave. I had to remind her of the issue we had when buying the house and that it was still under my name. There was a pause and I could tell she remembered what happened. Her tone changed, but she did not back down. She tried to argue with me, saying she did not have anywhere else to go. She said she needed to stay there, and she did not know where else she could go. Then she tried to guilt-trip me, talking about how we had been together for 20 years and how that should mean something. I could not believe it. I told her she should have thought about that before she started cheating on me with Jeffrey. I did not care where she went. I told her she could stay with him or go anywhere else. It was not my problem anymore. She started crying, hoping I would feel sorry for her, but I did not. I was done. I just hung up the phone. After that, I got a text from Sandy. She was furious and said some of the worst things imaginable. She accused me of taking away their future and now making them homeless. It hurt to read that, but I knew I could not let her guilt-trip me. I had already made my decision. I texted back telling her that I had told Irina that the kids could stay in the house if they wanted to. I reminded her that Katie was 18 and could stay if she chose to, and Sandy could stay too if she wanted to. Sandy replied, saying that Irena did not mention anything about the kids staying in the house. Irena had only told them that I was kicking everyone out. So, Sandy called me right away. She wanted to know what happened and what I had said to Irena. I explained everything clearly to her, and after that, Sandy added Katie to the call. At first, Katie did not want to talk to me. She was angry and going off about how terrible I was, blaming me for everything that had gone wrong. But Sandy told her to calm down and listen to me. And after a while, Katie did. Once Katie heard everything I had to say, I could tell both of them were taken aback. They did not know the whole story. I think they had only heard one side of things and had not fully understood what was really happening. After I explained everything, they seemed surprised, but at least willing to listen. They told me they wanted to meet with me and talk about everything face to face. I agreed to meet with them tomorrow. I am not sure what is going to happen when we meet, but I am trying to stay calm and open-minded. I am not sure how things will go, but I am ready to listen to them. I hope this meeting will help us all understand each other better. There is a lot of hurt and confusion right now, but I want to try to fix things with my kids if I can. So, that is where I am at right now. A lot of things are up in the air, and I am not sure how things will go with the divorce, the house, or my kids. But I am ready to take things one step at a time and try to move forward from here. Let us see what happens tomorrow. Update 3. I met up with Katie and Sandy to talk, and it was a lot more than I expected. I was not sure how they were feeling after everything that had happened, and I was nervous about how they might react to me. But when we sat down together, I got to know so much that I was not prepared for. The very first thing that came up really shocked me. Irena had been telling them that they were basically my backup family. She told them that I had another family back where I was living, and was just keeping them around in case I needed them. I could not believe what I was hearing. How could she tell them something like that? I had always been there for them, no matter how hard things got. I had done everything I could to make them feel loved and cared for. To hear that she had been feeding them such a hurtful lie was unbelievable. I could not wrap my head around it. Telling them that I was not really interested in being their father and did not care about them. It was like getting slapped in the face. Then I started wondering why she would say something like this. She was probably attempting to make sense of her actions, her affair, everything she had done to betray the family. It was all easier for her to live with if she could convince herself that I did not care. But this was far beyond anything I could have imagined. When I asked them more about what Irena had said, they seemed lost. They told me they had no idea Irena was using their college funds. When I mentioned it before, they assumed I was simply trying to shift the blame. But when I showed them the bank statements and evidence I had, their faces fell. They were upset. They had no clue that Irena had been taking the money meant for their future and using it for her own purposes. They were really shocked by that, and I could not blame them. They had been lied to and manipulated, and it was not fair. They started telling me more about what Irena had told them, and it all added up. She had twisted the truth in so many ways, making it seem like I did not care about them, and that she was the one who had been taking care of everything. In reality, I had been there for them as much as I could, even if I was living in another place. But she had made them believe that was not true. I told them I was going to restart their college funds. That was the least I could do to try and make up for how things are right now. But when I said that, they told me it was not about the money. They were so hurt by what Irena had done that the money did not matter anymore. What mattered was the trust they had lost in their mother. They said they were worried about the money at first because of everything they were told. They thought this was the least I could do for them, especially when they were just the backup family. I asked them why they never mentioned this to me before, and they told me that Irena said I would hurt her if they ever got to know about this whole thing. Of course, she did. They told me they were on my side. That meant a lot to me, more than they could know. They did not have to say that, but they did. I knew it was not easy for them. They had just found out how deep the lies went and they were processing everything. But still, they were choosing to be on my side, to stand with me. They told me they wanted to stay in the house and that Irena would have to leave. They did not want her around anymore, not after everything she had done. I understood. It was time for her to go. I told them that was fine, that Irena would be moving out. The conversation was not easy. There were a lot of emotions, and I could tell they were still processing everything. But at least we were talking openly now. At least they knew the truth about what had happened, even if it hurt. They needed to know I was there for them, that I was on their side no matter what. They were not sure where this was all going. They were hurt, confused, and still reeling from everything. But I also realized something else. I realized that they were still my daughters, and they still trusted me. They were not blaming me for everything that had happened. They just needed time, and I was willing to give it to them. For now, things feel like they are on the right track. Update 4. The divorce went through about a month ago, and things are finally starting to settle. Irena has moved out, and although I am glad it is over, it is still strange. I do not really know what is going on with her now. She has not contacted the kids or me, and to be honest, I am not sure I want to know. After the lunch we had where everything came out in the open, the kids went back home and called her out on everything. I was not there to see it, but they told me that she tried to defend herself and blamed it all on me. The kids were not having it though. They stood their ground and told her they had had enough of her lies. The day after that, she moved out. It was not a calm goodbye, but it was done. All the demands she had made during the divorce were turned down, all thanks to the prenup we signed before we got married. I was not about to let her take anything that was not hers. I had worked too hard for everything, and I made sure the prenup protected me and the kids. So when she tried to ask for more, it did not go anywhere. The kids will be staying at the house. Sandy and Katie are both going to be there, but Sandy will be living with my younger sister who lives just 1 block away from us. Since Sandy is still a minor, she is not legally allowed to live on her own, but I'm glad my sister is nearby and can take care of her. Whenever I am back, Sandy will stay with me, and if Katie's home from college, she will stay with her at the house. I am happy that Katie's college is close enough, so she will be able to come back when she can, and Sandy will not be alone. My work situation is good right now, so I will be able to work from home for long stretches, and when I am back, I will spend as much time with the kids as I can. It is important to me to be there for them, especially now when they are going through so much. Having a flexible job means I can make sure they are not alone when they need me most. I have not heard anything from Irena. She has not contacted the kids, and I am sure they are okay with that. After everything that happened, I am sure they are not interested in hearing from her. I think they are still processing everything, and honestly, so am I. It is hard to understand how everything went so wrong, but I am glad the truth is finally out there. The kids are still hurt by everything that happened. They were lied to for so long, and it is hard to watch them deal with that. They told me that the main thing on their minds right now is not the money or the college funds. It is how much their mother hurt them. They feel betrayed by her, and I understand that. I am doing my best to be there for them and help them through this. They have told me that they will stay with me. They said they are on my side, and they want things to get better. It is a huge change for all of us. Things will never be the same, but I am doing my best to keep supporting them. I know it is not easy for them, and I am not pretending it is, but we will take it one day at a time. The kids are strong, and I believe they will be okay. I just have to keep being there for them and let them know they can count on me. The situation is still a little up in the air, but I am confident that things will get better.